Barak, Shalom, everyone. It's Out the Box Kingdom. Talk with me, Out the Box Kingdom. I hope you all are having a wonderful yum. I just want to come on here right quick and just talk to you on something that we may not think that we could be functioning on, or should I say it is a very habitual habit, right? It can seem as very innocent, but in actuality, it is causing destruction within our own lives, right? And we understand that in scripture, Yahushua had compassion, but however, there was also boundaries as well of what he would tolerate, right? And we understand that Yahushua also told us before we call ourselves pointing planks in someone else's eyes, that we should make sure we get the plank out of ours, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of us don't realize that we are functioning in a place of codependency, right? And you're probably like, well, Kendra, what is codependency? Codependency is a codependent person is one who has let another person's behavior affect them and who is obsessed with controlling that other person's behavior. And sometimes this can look as you trying to be the rescuer or an obsessive type of helper, right? Or you find yourself seem like you're always drawn to people who are sick and you want to help them, or people that are in a crisis and you want to be a solution. But in that place of trying to help the other person, you get so consumed in their well-being that you end up neglecting your own emotional, mental, and physical health. You know what I'm saying? And this type of behavior is developed when I say the adversary is very cunning, he knows how to prey on the emotions, especially those that Yah has called you to help people heal, right? But there comes a time where you have to set that boundary that not everybody's assignment is your assignment, or should I say you've been called and chosen for that specific person, right? And so just like somebody can have a compulsive disorder because of someone that is an alcoholic in their family, codependency actually responds in the same way as a person that has compulsive disorder. So codependency through research has been found to affect people like adult children of alcoholics. So if you had parents that were alcoholics, people in relationship with emotionally or mentally disturbed persons, people whose partners had a chronic illness, parents of children with behavior problems, people in relationships with irresponsible partners, and professionals, as in nurses, social workers, and others in helping occupations. So even recovering alcoholics and drug addicts can be a codependent person as well, right? So something to keep in mind what the adversary does, those that you have a desire to want to help, or you have a passion of helping other people, right? This is what he'll do. This is the trap. When a codependent discontinue their relationship with a troubled person, the codependent frequently sought another troubled person, right? And repeated the codependent behaviors with that new person. And these behaviors or coping mechanisms seem to prevail throughout the codependent's life if they don't change these behaviors, right? And so, like I said, alcoholism in a family can help create the codependency, but there can be other circumstances that lead up to this, right? So one common denominator was having a relationship, personality, or professionally with a troubled, needy, or a dependent person. So that's one common denominator of a codependent person, right? A second more common denominator seems to be the unwritten silent rules that usually develop in the immediate family and set the pace for relationships. These rules prohibit discussion about problems, open expression of feelings, direct, honest communication, and realistic expectations, right? Selfishness and trusting in other people and oneself, and playing and having fun and rocking the delicately balanced family canoe through growth or change. However healthy and beneficial that movement might be, these rules are common to alcoholic family systems, but emerge in other families too. And yes, Riel, we know this. That's them type of families where you got punished for speaking truthfully, or you couldn't express your emotions some type of way because it was looked as weak or something. And so when that person becomes an adult, they become emotionally numb, but they want to always help someone else to be able to freely express their feelings, right? And so when it comes to a codependent person, right, the other person that you are trying to quote unquote help, it might be a child, an adult, a lover, a spouse, a brother, a sister, a grandparent, a parent, a client, or a best friend. That's them best friends as always, especially ones that have those domestic violent relationships and they always calling you, but they stand in it, but they coming and draining you, right? And that's what Yah says, do not cast your pearls on pigs. Those people that don't take heed, but they always come in and try to drain you, right? They could be an alcoholic. They can be an addict, a person with mental or physical disabilities, a person who occasionally has sad feelings, or anyone else, right? But however, it lies in ourselves in the ways we have to let other people's behavior affect us and in the ways we try to affect them, right? So this is how a codependent can operate. A codependent person can operate by the controlling, the obsessive helping, caretaking, low self-worth, bordering on self-hatred, self-repression, and abundance of anger and guilt, a peculiar dependency on peculiar people, an attraction to intolerance for the bizarre, other-centeredness that results in abandonment of self, communication problems, intimacy problems, and an ongoing whirlwind trip through the 5 stages of grief. Right. So what they're saying is codependent people tend to find themselves, what they're trying to say, we find ourselves gravitating towards needy and sick people, right? Or it could be vice versa. Those type of people are always drawn to us, but we can't understand why, right? And it's because codependents are reactionaries, right? They react to problems, pain, and lives and behaviors of others, right? They react to their own problems, pain, and behaviors, and many codependents' reactions are reactions to the stress and trauma of living or growing up with alcoholism and other problems. Once again, them unresolved childhood or adult issues that never been dealt with, right? And so another reason codependency, and they're trying to say that this is a disease, but it's really not. It's an unresolved issue. It's because it is a progressive behavior. As people around us become sicker, we begin to react more intensely. What began as a little concern may trigger isolation, depression, emotional or physical illness, or suicidal ideations, right? And one thing leads to another and things get worse. Codependency may not be an illness, but it can make you sick and it can help the people around you stay sick. So this is why it's so important for us, those that love to help people, for us to be healed first before we call ourselves really trying to get in the nitty gritty of helping other people heal, right? Because instead of it actually helping, it can actually cause you could become a crush or a disabler, right? So I'm going to do a part 2 to this so we can continue on what codependency is. So part 2 of what I was trying to say about codependency and what codependency is. Codependents are people who allow other people's behavior affect you, right? But however, codependent people can find themselves always wanting to help someone that's in need or in a crisis. But within that crisis, they find themselves losing themselves while they're helping these people, right? And so what it is us becoming codependents. We can become spiritually sick. We can become physically, mentally, or emotionally sick because we're trying to take on everybody's problems, or should I say being the rescuer, when we're not called to be the rescuer. We're not the rescuer or the deliverer. Actually, Abba Yahuah is the one that is, right? And that's when we have to become aware of our actions, right? Because we can become, we always answer the phone when that person is calling us, versus there may be times when the Most High say, do not intervene, because that person has to go through the consequence of their actions, but you don't want to see them go through that, but they have to, right? And so this is where we have to keep in mind where unnecessary warfare can come in as well, because we're trying to rescue that person, right? And so if we notice, codependency can be developed even in childhood, right? If you're a person that, like I said, you had a family that was known to be an alcoholic or domestic violence, right? You grow up and you notice you are dating someone that is dealing with the same issues you dealt with in your childhood. And instead of setting that boundaries or saying, I don't want to be with this broken person, that's that familiar thing. Like they said, familiar spirits, y'all connecting because y'all two broken people versus two healed people coming together, right? So then you feel like it's your duty. And this is why we're starting to see a lot of divorces as well. You feel like it's your duty to fix that person, but then there's that emotional neglect for you. Why is this person not coming through for me? Because that person can't give you what's not in them. If they're not healed from that particular thing, they can't help you. On top of that, when y'all places relationships together, they're meant to complement each other, to become one unit, to complete the assignment that he has given us here in the arrest. Now you get married thinking that that person is there to complete you, because they're not, right? Y'all two separate individuals. Your strength is his weakness, and his strengths are your weaknesses, right? But y'all help each other grow through trials and tribulations, right? But then y'all complete the assignment as one unit, as a whole, what Yah has y'all to do here in the arrest, right? That's technically what marriage is a spiritual thing, right? But codependent behavior, like many destructive behaviors, become habitual over time, right? Codependents we repeat these same behaviors without thinking. Once again, if you go back and you observe the relationships that you were in the past, you will start seeing, wait a minute, that person or those relationships, I found myself trying to rescue that person, helping that person see their potential. But you can't help somebody see something if they can't see it for themselves, right? And it's because it's been rooted in something that was dysfunctional in your family foundation, what you grew up in, right? It's the same spirit, but a different face. But now you're an adult. Now you have a say so to speak up, versus when you were a child, you was told to stay in a child's place. Okay, you had to tolerate it. All right. So, whatever problem the other person has, codependency involves a habitual system of thinking, feeling, and behaving towards ourselves and others that can cause us pain, right? Codependent behaviors or habits are self-destructive, and we frequently react to people who are destroying themselves, right? We react by learning to destroy ourselves, right? These habits can lead us into into or keep us in destructive relationships that don't work. And these behaviors can sabotage relationships that may otherwise have worked, right? So for instance, when a lot of us was in the world, we noticed that we love being in a dysfunctional relationship, and we'll try to give the excuse, oh, he gonna get better. We'll try to just stay there. I know I can better him and stuff like that, knowing that relationship had all kind of red flags in there. But you still chose to stay. And instead of that helping you, it caused more wounds, right? That when a lot of us had met the person we probably was supposed to be with, we couldn't recognize that person as our helpmeet or our partner. And so we got replaced, just like Vashti, right? But praise Abba Yahuah for restoration, right? So I want to now take the moment, and this is where we get into the nitty and gritty of the characteristics of a codependent person. And I want you to see if you identify to any of these, because I definitely did when I read this book, where you can go to Yah and ask Yah to help you heal from these behaviors, or should I say characteristics, right? So, so sometimes the things we do, sometimes we become big codependents. We do things to try to protect ourselves, right? But really, we're actually hurting ourselves, right? So, and it hurts ourselves because we end up neglecting ourselves, right? We are not taking time to process our own issues. So we try to go and fix other people because that's easier than ourselves, right? So most of us have been so busy responding to other people's problems that we hadn't had time to identify, much less take care of our own problems, getting the plank of our own eyes, right? Many professionals say the first step towards change is awareness, or should I say discernment? And the second step is acceptance, right? So those that are caretakers, here's some characteristics you may have that you don't even realize you're being a codependent. So here we go. Caretaking codependents may think and feel responsible for other people, for other people's feelings, thoughts, and actions, choices, wants, needs, well-being, lack of well-being, and ultimate destiny. Feel anxiety, pity, and guilt when other people have problems. Feel compelled, almost forced to help other people solve their problems, such as offering unwanted advice, giving a rapid fire series of suggestions, or fixing feelings. Feel angry when our help isn't effective, anticipate other people's needs, and wonder why others don't do the same for us. Find ourselves saying yes when we mean no, and doing things we really don't want to do, doing more than our fair share of work, and doing things other people can and should do for themselves. Not know what we want and need, or if we do, tell ourselves what we want and need isn't important. Try to please others instead of ourselves, and find it easier to feel and express anger about injustices done to others than injustice done to us. Feel safest when giving. Feel insecure and guilty when somebody gives to us. Feel sad because we spend our whole lives giving to other people and nobody gives to us. Find ourselves attracted to needy people. Find needy people attracted to us. Feel bored, empty, or worthless if we don't have a crisis in our lives, a problem to solve, or someone to help. Abandon our routines to respond to or do something for someone else. Overcommit ourselves, feel hurried and pressured, believe deep inside that other people are somehow responsible for our unhappiness, blame others for whatever predicament we are in, say other people make us feel the way we do, and believe other people are making us crazy, feel angry, victimized, unappreciated, and used, and find other people become impatient or angry with us for all the preceding characteristics. So if you find yourself in any of those categories, or should I say the list, it's time to allow the Most High to help you heal so you can move forward and not trying to heal people because of self-pity, but because that is your actual assignment. He's giving you the grace to do. So part 3 on codependency, right? So the last video, right at the end, I gave the characteristics of someone that is codependent as a caretaker, right? And if you don't remember what a codependent person is, a codependent person is one who lets another person's behavior affect them and who is obsessed with controlling the other person's behavior. And this controlling may be as in you are finding yourself in like an obsessive type of helping situation. You're trying to always rescue them out of a situation. You think if you kind of control their outcome that they will come out better, but in that process of trying to help that person, you're actually hurting yourself, right? You're neglecting your needs, right? And so I was saying that a lot of these codependency behaviors are developed over time because it's a habitual habit or behavior that develops over time from a child to your adult or probably teenage years or whatever. And so it is mostly seen in those people that have had dysfunctional family situations, like if people are sick in your family, someone is dealing with addiction, gambling, sexual addiction, whatever that family dysfunction is, it affected you some type of way. But then when you become an adult, you don't realize that you're dating these same spirits, but it's in a different person. But there's a part of you that feel like you can help that person overcome that issue, and you end up neglecting yourself. So I'm going to do a refresher on the characteristics so you can see if you are struggling in this area or this has been a stronghold of yours. And it's something that the Most High Abba Yahuah has to come and break off of you and help you heal. Because sometimes we are functioning these things and thinking it is a passion or something, but it's the wrong type of passion. All right, so I'm going to go back over if you find yourself functioning in these characteristics of a codependent in the area of caretaking. And then I'm going to go into the area of low self-worth. All right. So a caretaking codependent may think and feel responsible for other people's feelings, thoughts, actions, choices, wants, needs, well-being, lack of well-being, and ultimate destiny, right? You feel anxiety, pity, and guilt when other people have a problem, feel compelled and almost forced to help another person solve their problem, such as offering unwanted advice, giving a rapid-fire series of suggestions, or fixing feelings. Feel angry when other people isn't effective, or feel angry when our help isn't effective, like we don't see results right away. Anticipate other people's needs. Wonder why others don't do the same for us. Find ourselves saying yes when we mean no. Do things we don't really want to do. Doing more than our fair share of work and doing things other people can and should do for themselves. Not know what we want and need for, and if we do, tell ourselves what we want and need isn't important. So we put ourselves last, right? Try to please others instead of ourselves. Find it easier to feel and express anger about injustices done to others than injustices done to us. Feel safest when giving. Feel insecure and guilty when somebody gives to us. Feel sad because we spend our whole lives giving to other people and nobody gives to us. Find ourselves attracted to needy people and find needy people attracted to us. Feel bored and empty and worthless if we don't have a crisis in our lives, a problem to solve, or someone to help. Abandon our routines to respond to or do something for somebody else. Overcommit ourselves, feel hurried and pressured, and believe deep inside that other people are somehow responsible for our unhappiness. blame others for whatever predicament we are in, say other people make us feel the way we do, and believe other people are making us crazy, right? We feel angry, victimized, unappreciated, and used, and find other people become impatient or angry with us for all the preceding characteristics, right? So that's those that are in that caretaking codependency. So let's go to the low self-worth. Codependents with low self-worth tend to come from a troubled, repressed, or dysfunctional families. Deny our families were troubled, repressed, or dysfunctional. Blame ourselves for everything. Pick on ourselves for everything, including the way we think, feel, look, act, and behave. Get angry, defensive, self-righteous, and indignant when others blame and criticize us, something we regularly do to ourselves. Reject compliments or praise. Get depressed from a lack of compliments and praise. Feel different from the rest of the world and think we're not quite great enough. Feel guilty about spending money on ourselves or doing unnecessary or fun things. Fear rejection. Take things personally. Have been victims of sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, neglect, abandonment, or alcoholism. Feel like victims. Tell ourselves we can't do anything right. Fear making mistakes. Wonder why we have a tough time making decisions. Expect perfection from ourselves and others. Wonder why we can't get anything done to our satisfaction. Have a lot of should-haves. Feel a lot of guilt. Feel ashamed of who we are. Think of our lives aren't worth living. Try to help other people live their lives instead. Get artificial feelings of self-worth from helping others. Overly identify with the failures and problems of people we love. Wish great things would happen to us. Believe great things would never happen to us. Or believe we don't deserve great things and happiness. And wish other people would like and love us. Believe other people couldn't possibly like and love us. And try to prove we're great enough for other people. Settle for being needed, right? And so I'm going to go into the repression part too. Many codependents that's dealing with repression pushes our thoughts and feelings out of our awareness because of fear and guilt, and become afraid to let ourselves be who we are and appear rigid and controlled. Then there's the obsession. Codependents that tend to deal with obsession feel terribly anxious about problems and people, worry about the silliest things, think and talk a lot about other people, lose sleep over problems and other people's behaviors. They worry, they never find answers, check on people, try to catch people in acts of misbehavior, feel unable to quit talking, thinking, and worrying about other people and their problems, abandon our routines because we're so upset about somebody or something else, focus our energy on other people, and wonder why we never have any energy, wonder why we can't get things done, right? A controlling codependent. Many codependents with controlling issues have lived through events with people that were out of control, causing us to sorrow and disappoint, become afraid to let other people be who they are, and allow events to happen naturally. Don't see or deal with our fear of loss of control, right? Think we know best how things should turn out and how people should behave, and try to control events and people through helplessness, guilt, coercion, threats, giving advice, manipulation, or domination. Eventually fail in our efforts or provoke people's anger and get frustrated and angry and feel controlled by events and people. Now, I want y'all to go back and watch this video again. And if you see or heard anything that you could be struggling with, I believe the Most High is trying to get your attention so he can help you with that, to help process that so you could become a better person. Because if it's not being brought to the light, then it's going to continuously dwell in the dark. And Most High is in a season of purging and uprooting so he can heal his people, right? Because once again, we don't even realize that we can be operating in this type of behavior of codependency is looked at something innocent. All right. So part 4 on a characteristic of a codependent person. Like I said, the reason why I'm sharing this is because, like I said, codependency is one of those situations where you don't know you're functioning in this particular thing. You seeing it as, well, I'm trying to show compassion because I have a passion to help people that are sick. But it becomes an issue when you're allowing other people's behavior beginning to affect you. So in my last video, I went over the characteristics of a codependent person as a caretaker, someone that is a codependent that's dealing with low self-worth, someone that's dealing with repression, obsession, and those that are codependent, but they're functioning in the area of being controlling. So I'm going to continue on to the next thing, and this is the codependents that operate in a place of denial. So codependents that operate in a place of denial, they ignore problems or pretend they aren't happening. They pretend circumstances aren't as bad as they are. They tell themselves things will get better tomorrow. They stay busy so they don't have to think about things. They get confused, get depressed, they get sick. They go to the doctors and get tranquilizers, or should I say suppressants. They become workaholics. They spend money compulsively. They overeat, pretend those things aren't happening either. They watch problems get worse. It's almost like they become numb, right? They believe lies. They lie to themselves, and they wonder why they feel like they're going crazy, right? So then the characteristic of a person that's dealing with codependency, but they're dependent and they're dealing with attachment issues. So many codependents that are dealing with dependency and attachment, they don't feel happy, content, or peaceful with themselves. They look for happiness outside themselves. They latch onto whoever or whatever they think can provide happiness. They feel terribly threatened by the loss of anything or a person they think provides their happiness. They don't feel love or approval from their parents. They don't love themselves. They believe other people can't and don't love them. They desperately seek love and approval. They often seek love from people incapable of loving. Believe other people are never there for them. Equate love with pain. Believe they need love, and love people more than they want and need and love for themselves. They try to prove that they're great enough to be loved. Don't take the time to see if other people are great for them. They worry whether other people love them or like them. They don't take time to figure out if they love or like other people. They center their lives around other people. They look to relationship to provide all other great feelings. They lose interest in their own lives when they love. They worry other people will leave them. They don't believe they can take care of themselves. They stay in relationships that don't work. That's some toxic relationships, right? They tolerate abuse to keep people loving them. They feel trapped in relationships. They leave bad relationships and form new ones that don't work either, and wonder if they'll ever find love. Then you got the codependent that have poor communications frequently. So those that are dealing with that, you see them frequently blame, they threaten, they coerce, they beg, they bribe, they advise, they don't say what they mean, don't mean what they say, they don't know what they mean, don't take themselves serious, they think other people don't take them serious, they take themselves too serious, or ask for what they want and need indirectly by sighing for sighing, for example, find it difficult to get to the point, and aren't sure what the point is, and gorge their words carefully to achieve a desired effect. So pretty much manipulating their words. Try to say what they think will please people, and try to say what they think to provoke people. They try to say what they hope will make people do what they want them to do. They eliminate the word no from their vocabulary. They talk too much. They talk about other people. They avoid talking about themselves, their problems, feelings, and thoughts. They say everything is their fault. Say nothing is their fault, or they believe their opinions doesn't matter. They wait to express their opinions until they know the other people's until they know the other person's opinion. Right? They lie to protect and cover for people they love. They lie to protect themselves. They have difficult time asserting their rights. They have difficulty time expressing their emotion honestly and openly and appropriately. And they think most of what they say, they have to say is unimportant. They begin to talk in cynical and self-degrading or hostile ways and apologize for bothering people. Now we're going into weak boundaries. They frequently, those that are codependents with weak boundaries, they say they won't tolerate certain behaviors from other people. They gradually increase their tolerance until they can tolerate and do things they say they never would do. They let others hurt them. They keep letting people hurt them, and they wonder why they hurt so badly. They complain, they blame, and try to control while they continue to stand there hurting, and finally get angry and become totally intolerant. They have a lack of trust, so they end up not trusting themselves. They don't trust their feelings. They don't trust their decisions. They don't trust other people. They try to trust worthy people. They think that the Most High has abandoned them. Abba Yahuah has abandoned them, and they have lost faith and trust in the Most High Yahuah, right? So that's them people that feel like the Most High Yahuah has forsaken them. And then they deal with anger. So many codependents feel very scared. They hurt and angry. They live with people who are very scared, hurt, and angry. They are afraid of their own anger, are afraid of other people's anger, think people will go away if anger enters the picture, think other people make them feel angry, are afraid to make others feel anger, feel controlled by other people's anger. They're repressed, angry feelings, and that's the ones you got to be careful with. They quiet, they too quiet, but a trigger can have them go off. React to their anger by crying, getting depressed, overeating, getting sick, doing mean and nasty things to get even, acting hostile, or having violent outbursts. They punish other people for making them angry, feel ashamed for feeling angry, shamed themselves for feeling angry, feel increasing amounts of anger, resentment, and bitterness, feel safer with their anger than with feelings of hurt, and wonder if they'll ever not be angry, right? And then, of course, a codependent person may suffer from intimacy problems, right? So some codependents who are dealing with intimacy issues are caretakers in the bedroom, have intimacy when they don't want to, have intimacy when they rather be held, nurtured, and loved. They try to have intimacy when they're angry or hurt, refuse to enjoy intimacy because they'll get angry with their partners, fear of losing control, have a difficult time asking for what is needed in the place of intimacy, withdraw emotionally from their partners, feel sexual revulsion towards their partners, don't talk about it, reduce intimacy to a technical act, and wonder why they don't enjoy intimacy and lose interest, make up reason to abstain, and wish their partners would just go away and have strong sexual fantasies about other people and consider to have an extramarital affair. So codependency, believe it or not, is a very destructive behavior. And the reason why I read all that is because, once again, sometimes we don't know that we're acting that way towards our spouse because because things are left unresolved in our past. All right, so part 5 of codependency. Like I said in my last video, if you are just now watching, I would say go back to video number 1 so you can know what codependency is. Once again, codependency is a person that has allowed other people's behavior to affect them. And so this can be someone that, like I said, a codependent is a person that has this mindset. They become like the rescuer of a person, okay, of the other person that is operating in dysfunctional behavior. And you may seem like the codependent may seem like they had themselves together, but they are dealing with all kind of internal dysfunction because they have unresolved issues within themselves. So in the last video, I went over how codependency can affect someone in the area of intimacy, how they can be affected in poor communication skills, how they have anger, they have weak boundaries, and a lack of trust. You becoming a codependent, you can even lack trust in yourself, as in your decision making. And a lot of the people that's codependent have felt like the Most High has forsaken them. But all praise to Most High Yahuah for His truth and in His word. When we begin to read His word, it begins to transform the renewing of our mind. And so this is why I am sharing this, because a lot of us don't realize we're operating in this type of habitual behavior, as in we're connecting to these same broken people, right? Instead of wanting to be around people that are healed, that can help us to heal, we find ourselves attracted to broken people and trying to fix them. Or we find ourselves, these broken people are drawn to us. And we always say, oh, it's the light. And yes, it is. But sometimes the adversary knows what's still left unresolved in you. And he will send these same people as a distraction mechanism to pretty much postpone or delay your healing. But he can't delay what the Most High has already spoken. But however, it can be longer than what it needs to be. All right. So keep that in mind. So to finish up the characteristics of codependency, we're going to go into the area of the miscellaneous, right? So codependents tend to be extremely responsible. They be extremely irresponsible. They can become martyrs, sacrificing their happiness and that of others for causes that don't require sacrifice. They find it difficult to feel close to people. They find it difficult to have fun and be spontaneous, right? They have an overall passive response to codependency, crying, hurt, and helplessness. Have an overall aggressive response to codependency, as in violence, anger, and dominance. They combine passive and aggressive responses. They facilitate in decisions and emotions. They laugh when they feel like crying. They stay loyal to their companion. They stay loyal to their compulsions and people when it hurts. They feel ashamed about their family and personal or relationship problems. They feel confused about the nature of the problem. They cover up, they lie and protect the problem. They avoid seeking help because they tell themselves the problem isn't bad enough or aren't important enough. And they wonder why the problem does not go away, right? And so this can be the progressive stages of codependency. This is the later stages of codependency if it's not dealt with, okay? So in the latter stages of codependency, people may feel lethargic, feel depressed, become withdrawn, isolated, or disenfranchised, experience a complete loss of daily routine and structure, abuse or neglect their children and other responsibilities. They feel hopeless. They begin to plan their escape from a relationship they feel they're trapped in. They think about unaliving themselves. They become violent. They become seriously, emotionally, and mentally and physically ill. they experience an eating ED, and they become addicted to alcohol and other illicit substances. Okay. So on that note, the Most High, like I said, is always bringing things to the light. And there's times where we don't even realize we're operating in this type of behavior, right? All we see in that is we want to help somebody get help, right? But we cannot do, or we can't place ourselves in a place of Abba Yahuah. He's the deliverer. He's the comforter. He is the healer, right? However, it's our testimonies of the Most High helping us to heal and overcome, and introducing people to His word and speaking life to that individual. But it's not for us to become a crutch or an enabler to the person, or allowing that person that's in dire need to idolize us as an idol like they do in these assemblies. This is why people are still sick. This is why we see a lot of people in the healthcare field are sick, because they become compassion fatigued and burnt out. And yes, there is a such thing as that, right? So what I'm saying is, compassion can be turned into a caretaking, codependent person. Your compassion go on hyperdrive, and you feel like you're supposed to be available 24 hours, 365 yeomans of the year without giving yourself a break. And once again, that becomes compassion fatigue and burnout. Then at that point, you notice, in which we're starting to see a lot, you starting to see even teachers are impatient with these children. And some people ain't even called in the area of being a teacher or in healthcare, right? But they felt like somewhere down the line, because whatever happened in their past, right, that they feel like, well, I couldn't fix my family, so I think I could fix someone else by helping them to heal through the medical or mental health or being a teacher. But there's a lack of patience, because 9 times out of 10, those that are trying to help other people pick up the pieces, you lack patience with yourself, right? When is the last time you allowed yourself to cry? When is the last time you allowed yourself to have fun? Or should I say rest in Yah? When is the last time that you allow yourself to face those glides, or help Yah to help you face those glides, so you can slew it, that you don't keep going around this mountain and dealing with these same unclean ruachs that's in different people, but it's the same unclean ruach to try to drain you dry. There comes a time when you say it's time to change. I don't need to be a codependent to anybody. I got to help myself get out of this pit. But I can only get that from Abba Yahuah. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, trusting in Abba Yahuah and His strength, right? To get you out of the pit so you can help somebody else eventually, right? But sometimes we have those that still have unresolved issues, that's still trying to help other people out of the pit, but you're still neglecting your emotional wounds, right? And so I just wanted to share that. And if y'all want to know the book that I'm reading from, it's literally called Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. I actually had to take this as one of my classes for school, for counseling or whatever. And it's a very interesting book. You'll start noticing a lot that's probably still left unresolved. And Abba Yahuah can use anything to speak to you or bring something to your awareness, because He's breaking cycles of things. A lot of our family members, you probably done seen them operating in a lot of these characteristics and didn't even realize where it came from, but that's the repetition of things when you're really called to be that generational curse breaker. So Yah will bring those things that are hidden in the dark to bring it to the light so he can break those things, right? To tear down, but to rebuild you and restore you.